Have you ever caught yourself worrying about the future? Not about death, but about something far more profoundly frightening. It's the fear of losing your independence. The fear of the day when your mind may begin to fail you. The fear that you might become a burden to the children you spent your life protecting. I understand that fear. It is real and it is heavy. We all desire dignity in our later years. We want to be the rock, the wise elder, not a source of anxiety for our family. But what if I told you that for many of us, the real threat isn't genetics or just old age? It's a silent, invisible enemy you are carrying right now. It is chronic stress. Research shows that this long-term, untreated stress is the accelerant that pushes you faster towards Alzheimer's risk. But here's the good news, the message of hope. You have the power to fight back. This video is your anti-burden strategy. I am going to show you the 3 simple proactive habits to build what neuroscientists call your cognitive reserve shield. This shield is your guarantee of independence. It is your mental armor against the damage Alzheimer's can inflict. Stay with me. This is how you protect your dignity and your family's peace of mind. Chronic stress, the silent killer of your independence. Let's start with the science of why your worries are literally killing your memory. The invisible threat is chronic stress. It's not the momentary stress of missing a bus or a crowded store. It's the low-level, persistent anxiety about finances, loneliness, or world events that simmers day after day. This endless loop of worry forces your body to pump out a flood of cortisol. Cortisol is your fight-or-flight hormone. It's essential for survival, but when it's constantly high, it becomes a toxin to your brain. Specifically, it attacks the hippocampus. Think of the hippocampus as your brain's memory factory and navigation center. It's where new memories are formed and where you learn. High cortisol levels literally damage the dendritic spines. These spines are the tiny branches that connect neurons, the building blocks of thought. When these branches shrink or die, memory loss begins. But the damage doesn't stop there. Chronic stress is also a major trigger for neuroinflammation. Imagine your brain as a house. Inflammation is like a slow, permanent fire. This inflammation allows toxic proteins to accumulate. The 2 most infamous proteins in Alzheimer's disease are amyloid beta and tau. Inflammation speeds up the formation of amyloid plaque, which clogs the communication lines between brain cells. The damage isn't just to the hippocampus. Chronic stress accelerates cellular aging throughout your body. Think of telomeres. These are the protective caps on the ends of your chromosomes. Stress effectively shortens these telomeres. Shorter telomeres are strongly associated with an increased risk of dementia. This is premature biological aging in your brain, triggered by worry. Scientists call this accumulated cost the allostatic load. It's the wear and tear from constantly being in that fight or flight mode. Imagine your car engine redlining 24 hours a day. Eventually, it will break down faster than any car driven calmly. Your brain is no different. The inflammation I mentioned isn't just a hypothetical fire. It's the release of cytokines, which are inflammatory molecules that can cross the blood-brain barrier. These cytokines interfere with the brain's ability to repair itself. This is the pathway that connects your low-grade daily anxiety to the pathology of Alzheimer's. Now, look at the research. It's stunning. Longitudinal studies have shown that individuals with high levels of psychological stress in midlife face an increased risk of developing Alzheimer's disease, sometimes up to 2.5 times higher compared to low-stress individuals. This is a stark warning. The stress we carry today determines the health of our brain tomorrow. And that is why the solution isn't just treating Alzheimer's once it arrives. The solution is to erect a shield against the stress before it erodes your independence. Building your cognitive reserve, the key to dignity. This brings us to the core of our strategy. Building your cognitive reserve. This is the key to dignity. What exactly is cognitive reserve? Imagine your brain as a road system. When Alzheimer's disease strikes, it destroys some of those roads. If you have low reserve, you quickly hit a dead end and symptoms appear rapidly. But if you have high cognitive reserve, you have built dozens of alternate routes, back roads, and superhighways. Even when Alzheimer's pathology destroys the main roads, your brain can detour around the damage. It is the mental buffer, the shield, that keeps you sharp and independent even as your brain ages. Research confirmed by the National Institutes of Health shows that high cognitive reserve allows the brain to cope better with the damage caused by amyloid and tau pathology. It doesn't necessarily stop the disease from starting, but it delays the onset of symptoms, sometimes for years or even decades. This is the difference between being independent at 85 and needing full-time care at 75. It's the difference between having a dignified retirement and becoming the burden you fear. So, how do we build this impenetrable shield? It comes down to three simple daily habits. These aren't medical secrets, they are lifestyle choices backed by decades of neuroscience. Let's start with two habits that don't even involve your diet. They involve your connections and your curiosity. The two social habits that forge your shield. The first two pillars are your social and intellectual armor. Pillar 1, the power of social engagement. I'm not talking about posting on Facebook. I'm talking about deep, meaningful human connection. Researchers are calling loneliness a bigger threat to longevity than smoking. Why is social isolation so toxic to the brain? When you are alone, your brain's threat detection system is constantly on high alert. This is a form of chronic stress. It's a cortisol spike triggered by isolation, not by a lion. But when you are engaged in a diverse social network, your brain is stimulated. You are listening, responding, and empathizing. This forces the release of neurotransmitters that counter cortisol. Social engagement is a better vaccine against Alzheimer's risk than any pill you can buy. Deep connection activates the prefrontal cortex. This is the part of your brain responsible for complex thought, judgment, and emotional regulation. When you are engaged with others, your brain is actively working to read social cues, decipher intention, and formulate responses. This is intense cognitive exercise. Social interaction forces your brain to build those alternate routes we discussed. Well, it's not enough to simply be in the same room. It must be meaningful interaction. Consider virtual options too. Joining a regular video call with your grandchildren to help them with homework is highly complex social and intellectual engagement. Hosting a Bible study or a religious gathering requires planning and active participation. This commitment to belonging is a direct counter to the cortisol spike of isolation. Action step refined for Pillar 1. Actively engage in one intergenerational or community activity every week. It could be joining a book club, volunteering at your church, or simply hosting a neighbor for coffee. It doesn't have to be grand. It has to be consistent. Pillar 2. Continuous learning. Forging new neural pathways. Your brain is like a muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it. But we are not talking about Sudoku or crosswords alone. Those help, but they aren't enough. To build cognitive reserve, you must force your brain to build completely new connections. This is called neural plasticity. This requires complex, novel, and challenging activities. Think of it this way. Learning a new skill is like paving a new road in your brain. The more roads you have, the harder it is for the disease to block all the pathways. The key word here is novelty. Your brain likes routine, but routine doesn't build reserve. The activity must be new, demanding your full attention and require problem solving. Think of your memory like a library. If you always use the same 3 shelves, the rest of the library becomes dusty and unused. Complex learning forces you to dust off and reorganize the entire library. Taking a beginner coding class, like learning how to build a simple website, is excellent. It forces logic and language centers to work together. Mastering a musical instrument you've never touched is even better. It requires motor skills, memory retrieval, and auditory processing. Another powerful activity is genealogy research. It demands high-level organizational skills, data synthesis, and long-term memory recall. The American Academy of Neurology emphasizes that intellectual stimulation must be continuous and increasingly complex. It must be hard. If it feels easy, it's not building enough reserve. This resilience is your guarantee that when your memory is tested, you will pass with dignity. Your independence is built on these new neural pathways. I've shared the first 2 pillars to protect your independence. Now I want to hear from you. What is the one new skill you are committed to learning this year to secure your independence, not just for yourself, but for your children's peace of mind? Share your promise below. The nightly ritual, cleaning amyloid, plaque overnight. The third pillar is the easiest and yet perhaps the most critical. Pillar 3, the nightly ritual, cleaning amyloid plaque overnight. We've established that stress causes amyloid plaque to build up. So, how do we get rid of it? Your brain has a built-in plumbing system called the glymphatic system. Think of it as the janitor that cleans your brain's waste. And when does this janitor work? Almost exclusively during slow-wave sleep. When chronic stress robs you of deep sleep, the glymphatic system cannot work efficiently. The amyloid plaque stays put, day after day, night after night. This is the crisis. Your sleep isn't just rest, it is your nightly brain detox. 2 simple bedtime rituals to maximize sleep detox. Chronic stress directly inhibits the onset of deep, slow-wave sleep. This is your most powerful and restorative sleep phase. In fact, stress can fragment your sleep, keeping you in lighter stages where the glymphatic system remains dormant. If the glymphatic janitor only gets to work for an hour instead of 3, the amyloid waste piles up. That is why we must actively prepare our body for deep sleep. Ritual 1, the MBSR breathing technique. Mindfulness-based stress reduction programs have shown to increase cortical thickness in brain regions associated with attention. Before bed, try this. Breathe in for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 7. Breathe out slowly for a count of 8. Repeat 5 times. This short exercise stimulates the vagus nerve, which forces your body out of cortisol-fueled stress and into relaxation. Ritual 2, the magnesium and tart cherry combo. Research suggests that supplementing with magnesium and tart cherry juice, rich in melatonin, can improve the quality of slow-wave sleep. Remember, the better slow-wave sleep equals a more efficient glymphatic system and more amyloid cleared. Ritual 3, the aerobic sleep boost. Research from the Mayo Clinic suggests that brisk aerobic exercise, such as a 30-minute fast walk or swimming earlier in the day, can significantly improve the quality and duration of slow-wave sleep later that night. A healthy fatigue counters cortisol. It pushes your body towards the deep rest it needs for brain cleansing. I know many of you are also wondering what foods you can eat before bed to further help this cleansing process. If you want to know the 5 bedtime foods that clean amyloid plaque while you sleep, watch my next video. I will break down the exact meals scientists use to boost the glymphatic detox. Your independence is your greatest treasure. You deserve to live your golden years with dignity, confidence, and peace. The anti-burden strategy is simple. Fight cortisol with connection, build reserve with learning, and clean amyloid with deep sleep. Start today. Take that first step. Your family is watching, and they deserve the peace of mind that comes from seeing you thrive. I am here to help you on this journey. This content is for informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition,